Welcome back to X-Men, right here at Comicstorian. This is where we take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. We then read them dramatically back to you, and today we're going to be continuing our coverage of the Ten of Swords. In the storyline of X-Men, they have been pushed off to an island known as Krakoa, and they have discovered another island of mutants known as Arakko, and they are trying to get Arakko to merge with Krakoa and bring all the mutants together. This has led to a battle against another group of individuals who wants to take control of both Arakko and Krakoa, which is going to be decided in the other world with a tournament of swords, you would think. All of the previous episodes in this series have basically explained how everyone has gotten their swords and how they've been deemed worthy to enter this tournament. But now everyone has teleported to the other world, and they're preparing for the actual battles. So today we're going to be bringing you 10 of Swords, part 12, 13, and 14, and all of the previous episodes will be linked down below. I hope you guys enjoy. X-Men number 14. The Starlight Citadel hovers over Otherworld. Inside, Apocalypse stands inside of a silent garden, alone. Stoic. This place feels like a refuge, where the weak go to hide. Are you hiding, my love? Genesis asks as she walks through the entryway. Apocalypse turns to his wife, telling her that he merely wanted peace before tomorrow. So you're a man of peace now. Have you fallen so far? She asks with a smirk, but Apocalypse nods towards the Twilight blade that Genesis carries, asking who has fallen. She draws the weapon, studying it. The Twilight blade is merely a tool. Is it powerful? Yes. Is it dangerous? Yes. Is it the most dangerous thing in this garden? It most certainly is not. She tells him as she plants the blade into the ground. The two put their weapons aside as Genesis takes her husband's hand, and they walk through the garden as she tells him her tale. The island of Arakko was torn asunder by the Twilight blade, and the enemy poured into the world through the chasm. The armies of Arakko pushed the enemy back, sealing the chasm shut. Genesis and her children led the forces through the chasm to hold the enemy, to contain them. Yet as they stepped through, hundreds of mutants lost their minds and fled into the wastelands that surrounded Arakko. Yet around them, Genesis saw only the bodies that the White Sword and his 100 warriors had killed. The Great Warrior had bought them time. The most powerful of the mutants began to work together, creating 10 towers that would act as an armor for Arakko. When the armies of Emeth came, the towers lashed out at them with great blasts of energy. The area around Arakko became a killing field. Generations passed. The mutants lived and died and never knew defeat. But the peace was only inside of their walls. A high prophet eventually coming forward and was struck blind when he saw Arakko's great defeat. Genesis raised an army of mutants and led them out of Arakko. They fought bravely, weapons cleaving through the enemy as they drove into their territory. Eventually, they reached the White Spire, the fortress of the White Sword, but the Great Warrior had become alien to them. He rose against them with his 100 companions and drove them out of his territory. Eventually, Genesis would return to Arakko, only to find that her sister, Iska the Unbeatable, had betrayed them and stood at the gates to the city. The warrior had sent parley with Genesis on behalf of the Golden Helm, and Genesis agreed and traveled to Emeth's great capital city. There she discovered that the 100 that had fled during the Great Crossing had been bred with demons of Amenth and created a great warrior race. As Genesis stood before the great Golden Helm, surrounded by these new demonic armies, the great ruler offered her a kind of peace. Yet Genesis offered the Golden Helm her sword. They fought to the death, yet Genesis had really lost. The Golden Helm was the only thing keeping the demon hordes in check. Genesis had no choice but to take up the helm's power, or all the world would be lost under a sea of demons. Under her control, the demon hordes swept outward, eventually coming to Otherworld. Genesis smiled at her husband as she finished her tale. And so now you know the price that I paid, my greatest victory and my greatest defeat. She tells him, "You can fight it. You're the strongest person I know." Apocalypse rumbles at her, but Genesis shakes her head. No one is strong enough to defeat the Golden Helm. I fight for it. It wants everything, so I want everything. Most of all, I want Krakoa, she tells him, but Apocalypse shakes his head, telling her that that is for all mutants. But can it last? Genesis asks him, pointing out that Arakko was forged in war. She turns to go. I will see what Krakoa has to offer and what you, my love, have to offer as well, she says as she takes her blade and she leaves. Next we have Marauders 14. In the Crooked Market, everyone prepares for the coming feast. Meanwhile, in the Starlight Citadel, Logan leans over the balcony, drinking from a massive tankard as the other champions gather behind him. The champions mingle briefly. Death walks up, introducing himself to Storm, but his sister War interrupts. Why waste your breath on these mutants, brother? The Krakoans put on a brave face, but I can smell the fear within them. War snarls, but Storm merely looks at her, sipping her drink. You are mistaken. It must be something else you smell. War continues to argue, but Storm barely notices her. I thought War would be more artful, she says simply. Eventually, Storm walks over to Logan, but Wolverine only growls at her. I ain't in the mood, Aurora, he tells her. I know what you're thinking, she tells him as she leans over the balcony. You're gonna try to talk me out of it, he asks, taking another sip of his drink, but she shakes her head and whispers gently. Don't miss, she tells him. Suddenly, the great doors begin to open and the birds flutter outward. It is time! Saturn IX bids you welcome to the Hall of Fallen Banners. The birds announce as they fly through the air. Pog on Pog storms past the other mutants, taking his seating card. Does that beast have a soft spot? Storm whispers to Magic. Working on it, she whispers back. Inside, the gathering of mutants are awed by the great hall around them as Saturn IX bids them all a fond welcome. She introduces the other members of her court. Jim Jaspers of the Crooked Market, Lady Roma of the Fae, Vesperdine, Colony Queen of the Hot Hive, Famine, Regent of the former Kingdom of Dryador. Saturn IX claps her hands, and the serving girls begin to enter with various drinks. Logan takes a massive drinking hoard, sucking down the smoking liquid from within. Braddock, you're not pulling your weight on this caper, Logan snaps as he chugs the liquid. Captain Avalon tells Logan to state his mind, and Wolverine points out that Braddock should just take one for the team and give Saturn IX what she clearly wants. I'm a married man, Brian points out. You're being a bore, Logan. Kindly piss off, Betsy tells Wolverine, and he finishes his drink, putting it on one of the serving trays. The witch could end this right now, if she just had what she wanted, Logan tells him, and he storms off. Elsewhere at the party, Magic continues to look around as the Kraken stands near her. War is right-handed. Death favors his left side. I think Red Root's shrubbery may hide other eyes. Interesting, Kraken whispers to her. Both turn to Iska, commenting that they can't figure her out, and they both walk to the unbeatable mutant, offering small talk as they hold out their drinks. They hold the drinks up for a toast, quickly dropping them. Iska's hand moves faster than eyes, and she catches both of their drinks. Ambidextrous, Kraken nods. Of course, should have guessed. Magic agrees. The woman walks away, and Magic asks Kraken what her soft spot is. I don't know. Kill as many as you can as fast as you can. I fear that woman's sword will break us, the warrior tells her. Elsewhere, Cable points out that Death seems to be creeping on Storm. The woman nods, handing the young mutant her drink. I know what he wants, she points out, crossing the room, offering Death a dance. They twirl around the room, with Death questioning why Storm doesn't fear or desire him. And as they continue to dance, the floor takes them beneath the magical waters that swirl beneath their feet. Storm explains that she's been dancing with Death her entire life. I neither fear nor desire you, but I know you, and this is as close as I will allow, she tells him as they finish. With their dance complete, Saturn IX bids her guests to take their seats at the table. Fate has drawn you together, and she has not been unkind. Whatever may befall you tomorrow, you will dine as royalty tonight, she tells them. Logan is seated closest to her as he examines the sushi that has been placed before him. Saturn IX regards the mutant, holding up her glass. Logan, I can tell when a mind is burdened. There is no reason for you to hold your tongue, she tells him simply. I ain't a man of many words, Logan snaps at her. And to his right, War opens a bottle beneath the table, sprinkling something onto Logan's sushi while he's distracted. He stands, telling Saturn IX that she can just take this all away without any collateral damage. But Saturn IX shakes her head, knowing that Logan can't understand the great change that is coming. Death is the great change, she tells him as she raises her glass. Lady, those are some famous last words. Logan snarls as he pops his claws and drives them through Saturn IX's stomach. Marauders 15. Suddenly there's a flash in Logan's mind, and the world is destruction before his eyes. There is no defense from Arakai in the other world. The realm fell quickly. The forces of Arakai set their sights on Earth. The heroes of Earth were no match for the forces of Arakai. Great creatures swept over the wasteland of the planet. And what is the final fate of Krakoan's deathless man? Saturn IX asks as she walks over to the crucified Logan, claws popping out of her hands as she stabs them into Logan's chest. Turnabout is fair play, right, Logan? Stabbing is fun. She leans into Logan's ear, whispering about how she knows that he cares for his people. Despite the harm that you have caused me, I freely give you this gift. This glimpse of the future. This is what happens if you fail your people, Wolverine. Logan stands by his seat at the great table seconds before he stabs Saturn IX. Now why don't you sit down before your food gets cold, or I will banish you to a lifeless realm, she suggests to him. He turns, stepping past Storm, heading back to his seat. Cypher leans forward, grabbing one of Logan's sushi, popping it quickly into his mouth. But as Logan sits down, he smells something is off. He tries to smack the sushi out of the young mutant's hand, but Cypher has already eaten one. He begins to choke, his tongue swelling as spit and foam begin to appear around the edges of his mouth. "Somebody poisoned my appetizer!" Logan shouts out, Cypher falling to the floor as the others gather around him. But Iska is the one who steps forward. She plunges a dagger into Cypher's throat. "A second airway for the boy," she says simply. Meanwhile, the white sword stands over War. "You poisoned the boy! At a feast?" he questions, and War turns, pointing out that not everyone has 100 soldiers at their beck and call. "Poison, the weapon of a craven, and the white sword will not be party to such cowardice," the great warrior simply says as he walks over to Cypher. He reaches down, wrapping his hand around Cypher's throat. "Be healed, boy," the warrior says simply, and the poison begins to leak out of his eyes and mouth, expelling from his body. "You are whole, Cypher of Krakoa, and I release you of any obligation to me," the white sword says as he simply walks away. As the room continues to devolve into fighting and arguing, Apocalypse and Genesis merely observe each other from across the table. "You did well with the children." "I did my best." Eventually, the main course arrives and the servers bring in roasted unicorns. "Never do I eat, for I never hunger, but for the great unicorn I will make an exception," the white sword notes as he takes his seat once more. "It's good, damn good," Logan notes as he bites into the mythical beast. They move on to dessert and Cable steps forward to speak to Iska. "Your power is that you can't be beaten, right?" "Never have, never will," she nods, and he smiles at her, asking if she can show him. She nods and tells him that he'll see her power during the tournament. "Let's see you go now. I have a few ideas," Magic says as she appears over the boy's shoulder. Quickly, Iska pins the tail a pog on pog, and she stacks wine glasses better and quicker than Magic, and she finds the bullet under a dozen cups without a thought. "You never lost at anything?" Cable demands to know. "What number am I thinking of?" Magic questions. "You're not thinking of a number," Iska says simply. "She's right! Imagine what would happen if she fought Domino!" Magic cheers with a smile. Finally, Saturn IX steps forward, drawing the party to a close. She holds out her hands and tarot cards float before her as she smiles. "You've all dined well. Now you must return to your chambers and sleep well, for your bodies and your mind will be pushed to the limit as you compete for your nation. And now the cards will determine the first contest," she says as she plucks 2 cards, placing them on the table. "Blades will cross at dawn. Betsy Braddock and Iska, the unbeatable of Arakko, to the death." And there you have it. We are now on chapter 15. Okay, seriously, the battles are finally beginning. Oh my god, I feel like we've taken forever to get here. My one major complaint with the Ten of Swords saga is how gosh darn long it took to get here. But we are finally here. It's finally starting to happen. I hope you guys are excited. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We will bring you the next episode of this between next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Schedule's a little wonky right now, but we will not miss an episode of Ten of Swords. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Don't forget to check us out over at Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian, where we bring you a lot of additional content. There's ways to directly talk to me, and you can also check out our Discord, the Comicstorian Discord, where you can also talk directly with me. Both ways are open to you. We would appreciate any support in this community and helping us move forward. And thank you guys so much for just watching this video. I know this isn't one of our highest performing videos, but those of you who are sticking it out, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time right here at Ten of Swords.